Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Transition Bridge podcast. This is Debbie, your host, and today we're going to have a powerful conversation about choice, courage, and living with intention. Transitions, they can be challenging, especially when you are trying to make an intentional or a specific change in your life. But I can share with you with great encouragement that this type of transition will always give birth to something new and was going to ultimately be something that produces life for others. So take the leap. Whatever you're feeling called forth to do it because there's people on the other side of that transition bridge that are going to benefit from your decision. Well, today, my guest, Laura Nelson, she is the founder of Sober Life Rocks. And it's a movement that is changing how we show up in events, in leadership, and in life without alcohol. And after stepping away from drinking in 2020, Laura saw a need for more inclusive, alcohol free spaces in professional settings. She's also an educator, speaker, and dental industry leader with over 20 years of experience helping teams grow stronger. But today, she's here to talk about building community, redefining success, and living out loud sober. Well, Laura, hey, welcome to the Transition Bridge podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, and it's interesting to hear you read that. You have the best voice for that, and it just kind of puts it all in perspective that I've made a transition, and here I am talking about it. If you would have asked me 20 years ago, I'd be laughing at that introduction of me being sober. So that was such a good intro. Thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome. Well, it's a powerful story, and I think it's one that every one of us, needs to hear. And your personal decision of becoming sober then turned into a life mission for you.
Mm,
So, why don't you take us back to that moment where you decided to embrace sobriety? What was
yeah.
your turning point?
Well, sober choices, getting sober, it's not like you flip a switch, you wake up one day and you go, okay, that's it. It was a lifelong, years long journey. I think a lot of questioning relationship with alcohol, waking up mornings going, oh, I wish I wouldn't have drank that other glass of wine,
Mm,
making decisions that, maybe weren't the best decisions under the influence. So, I live a normal life. Have a kids and have a job and started a business and travel. So it's not like, in my mind, like I had to stop drinking, but I did feel like I was being consumed by so much energy around it, so much decisions around it, where I ate, where I traveled to, where we sat, all the things, right?
right, right.
And I honestly didn't have anyone in my life who did live out loud sober or talk about it. It was very much everybody just kind of drank and everybody seemed to have control over it. So I just thought, well, there must be something wrong with me if everybody else is drinking and I'm not or trying not to or worried about it. And so the final kind of the straw that broke the camel's back was in this, January of 2020. I'm a professional speaker in my industry, and I was at an event, and they asked me to speak a day early
Ooh,
because one of the other speakers didn't make it because of travel issues. And I usually regulated how much I drank the night before an event based off of if I was on stage or not the next day. And I
sure.
said no, I couldn't speak a day early because I didn't feel great, and that was the beginning of my transition of like, this is what I do for a living, and how can I not get on stage when they ask me to get on stage? I feel blessed to be a speaker because I think that we should respect that position being,
Yes.
on stage, but yet here I have this substance that I struggle with quietly and internally, and I never really had anybody ahead of me to help me with that, to see that there was life on the other side. So that was the beginning of my transition of not drinking.
That's amazing. Sometimes it takes a defining moment, right? Where before you were literally controlling your days and your
Mhm.
responsibilities around when you would drink and how much. And this one caught you off guard. This was like,
And
no, a day before I can't.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like, I was out like at a rave the night before or anything. I was just at the conference bar with everyone else, just, seeing old friends and drinking wine and the thing that we do. But there was actually later that day, I saw another speaker, and at that moment, she's somebody in our industry that I look up to. She's been in the industry longer than I have. And at that moment, she was also not drinking. And she said from the stage, that she realized she needed to stop drinking because her two best friends were, well, her best friends were Ben and Jerry and Chardonnay, and she needed to get better best friends. And that, because I could see one person one step ahead of me, this is what you were just talking about in the intro, one person that from out loud from the stage who was saying that she wasn't drinking, I thought if she can do it, I can do it, right? Like, here she
Mm.
is talking about her sober choices, and it opened a window for me that I would have never, I mean, I'm sure I would have figured out, but at that moment I needed to hear it right then. And I think it was a divine moment of just, okay, here's what you're sitting in, and here's the way out, but you got to do the hard stuff, which is stop drinking for me, right?
Oh yeah. Well, how awesome is that to have someone that you looked up to and
Mhm.
actually speak directly to your heart and
Mhm.
kind of like gave you the courage to even think about possibly making that change. That is really great. That is
Yeah.
awesome.
And we don't really know. I talk about this a lot when I'm talking about people who are not drinking and they feel pressure from other people. A lot of times we don't even know who's watching us. We don't even know who's listening to us. We don't even know. It doesn't matter
Mm.
that 50 other people in the room maybe didn't hear that message, but I heard it. And that's all that I needed for me. And so a lot of times when we feel people are pressuring us to drink, have a glass of wine, come on, you should have it. Or why don't you drink? It's not because they're judging us. It's maybe because they're curious. Maybe they're also struggling with their relationship with alcohol. And so I think being open and curious is a big part of whatever it is that you're talking about, you're struggling with, because we all have our own issues, our own struggles.
Oh, we do. And if we can be transparent and talk about it, you never know. And so do you think, people when you're at a social situation and they always seem to be gathered around alcohol, but if you're the one that goes and you're not drinking, do you think the one who's asking you, why aren't you? Oh, come on, just have a glass of wine, or do they feel uncomfortable in that space?
Yeah, I think there's that's like a 20-minute answer right there. But I think the societal norm that you just drink, right? You're sad, you drink. You're happy, you drink. You're bored, you drink. Like we've grown
Hmm.
up with this. So there's that. Then there's the meeting spaces or the events we go to. And this is part of the reason I wrote my book was because as a society, we use alcohol as the currency of connection, right? Like we go to the bar or we stand around. So you've got that aspect of it where there's always already this, like, this is the focal point, not the you and I talking, but you and I having a glass of wine talking, right? Like, let's drink. And then when people are insisting, questioning. Some people are doing it for their own justification, like it's hard to drink alone, so I want you to drink with me. Some people,
Hmm.
because they're just trying to be nice. Like they might say, have a glass of wine. Are you sure you don't want a glass of wine? And if it was cake, they would say the same thing. Do you want a piece of cake? Are you sure you don't want a piece of cake? But it's sensitive to people with alcohol, so we take it as them being pushy when really maybe they're just being nice. They would do it with anything they were offering, right? But then lastly, it might just be that they've got issues around their story and their alcohol, and that's fine. And that's fine. They do them. You get to choose to do you. One of the things that we really trying to push is we don't care what's in your cup. You drink what's in your cup, just let me drink what's in my cup, right? It shouldn't matter. And so changing the conversation around it and spotlighting that in the conversation, I think is important and enlightening for so many people who maybe haven't. I mean, there's lots of people who've never drank and they just hide it because they don't want to deal with the pressure of it, right? We put a lime in our drink and we act like we're drinking just so that we don't have people
Yeah.
second guessing what's in our cup,
Well,
right?
that's what I was going to ask you. So, how do you handle it when you are the only one not drinking? Because that is a pressure, and you do feel like people are looking at you, and you don't want to be looked at that way. It's actually a strength that you're walking in, but we're all confused in this space.
Yeah, yeah. And it depends on the person, how you handle it. There's people like me who are quite sarcastic and loud, and I'm okay with saying something humorous or joking or whatever. Some people, they just, no, thank you. The problem is the real problem is when you decide to stop drinking or trying to drink less, or in your personal life, whatever your relationship with the alcohol is, you can choose who you hang out with in your personal life many times, where you go and who you hang out with. So if you're with people who are really pushing alcohol on you, because that's just the way are they truly friends, or are we just friends because of the
Mm.
alcohol? Like, right? Are we bar buddies? Are we beer buddies? Whatever. And so in your personal life, you can many times maybe choose new friends, choose environments, pull back, take your own drinks so that nobody questions you. You just have your own something in a cooler. Like there's options of things you can do. Where the challenge is, and where we're really focused on the or professional space, is a little harder in the professional space because you may have to go to the wine dinner because you're the salesperson, sales manager who's paying for the dinner and there's wine being poured everywhere. You may have to go to the networking hour where it's focused around the bar, right? And so there it's really recognizing that there are some challenges you have to go through, but when we can connect with other people who also are sober or sober curious or sober-ish, we no longer feel alone. And research shows that if you're in a room of 100 people, there's probably 20 or 30 people in the room that either aren't drinking also or are trying not to drink and wish there was better options. And so by just talking about it, we can find other people, and you're no longer alone if there's at least one other person in the room not drinking. And that's really where we want to get to, is just let's just make it okay, right? Like,
Yeah, make it okay. And God, that's a high percentage. 30 people in the room. That's actually comforting to know when you're in
yeah,
that setting. So, what are some of the thoughtful ways then? And I can tell, like the corporate setting is just going to always be the way that it is.
I hope not. I hope not. That's what I'm working on.
Well, that's your, yeah, that's your goal. So, well, then let's start there. How will you change that whole mindset? How will you be able to introduce a more thoughtful space for non-drinkers?
Yeah, so that's part of the reason I wrote the book, is because it's more than just having non-alcoholic options, which we do need to have better options, right? At the bar, that's part of the beginning. But it's really around the event itself, whatever it is, and realizing that there's a percentage of people in the room that don't want to drink or want to drink less or don't want alcohol to be the focal point, and that the meeting planners have never really thought about it because we've been, and not to use the term anonymous, but we've been quiet about it. Like there are people who just go with the flow and put a lime in their drink and just they don't want to deal with it. So everybody assumes everyone's drinking when really there's a good percentage of people who aren't or don't want to. But the meeting planners didn't recognize that or don't see that until now, because there's more and more people who are talking about their sober choices. Wellness is a huge thing right now, right? We're talking about
Yes.
mental health, we're talking about taking care of your body, your emotional state, all of the things. If you're going to talk about wellness, we also have to talk about alcohol and addiction in that, because if you're doing yoga and breath work and taking care of your mental health, and then you're going home and drinking a half a bottle or a bottle of wine at nighttime, there's an issue there that's, we're numbing a lot of stuff when we're doing that. And so I'm on a tangent. You could tell I could talk about things, but really helping event planners, whether your event's 5 people or 5,000 people, realize that the focal point of the event is connection. It's to bring people together. It's to network, it's camaraderie, it's to learn, it's to grow as humans. And alcohol is not the focal point. So if we can do things like make people feel comfortable from the moment they walk in, have opportunities for networking that makes it easier for people to meet strangers, have an event that people want to go to that's not focused around the alcohol. Alcohol can be part of it, but it's the sideline. Let's actually do things that people want to go to and let people feel comfortable and have better options, so that if you and I are both like, we don't feel like drinking tonight, there are some options for something we can drink besides a sticky sweet mocktail or a Coke, right? Like
Right.
adult beverages don't mean that they have to have alcohol in them. They just mean I don't want a kid's sippy cup. I want an adult beverage, right? So that's the whole thing around the book, is it wasn't just one magic thing. It's a combination of a few things, but I relate it back to vegetarians and vegans. Like back in the day when I'd go to conferences, I remember vegetarians had to go pick up their meal from a special room or a table in the back,
That's true.
right? And now you get asked if you have food allergies everywhere, and they bring your meals right along with everybody else. Well, what was that transition? It was enough people who put a spotlight on this to say, why should I have to go to a special table to get my food? Why is this not considered important? And meeting planners paid attention, and now it's all incorporated. We're doing the exact same thing. We're just spotlighting this to say, there's a percentage of people in your audience who either aren't coming because of the amount of alcohol, or they're coming and they're leaving early, or they're just not being taken care of. And as an event planner, as a meeting person, as an owner, you want everybody to feel comfortable. You want everybody to
Yes.
feel included.
Well, you want them to feel safe too.
Right.
And sometimes those networking events, people use the alcohol for them to get comfortable so they can walk around the room and engage and yet not just be able to walk in confidently
Yep.
without the alcohol. And the one
Yep.
who doesn't want to drink, you just have all those obstacles. I don't want to be judged. I just want to walk in and have a conversation and
Yep.
not have the alcohol control the way the conversations go. And so,
Yep.
that's a great analogy between like the vegans or the gluten-free.
Hmm.
We were just in Europe and do you have a gluten-free allergy? Do you have allergies to your food? That was the first question before
Hmm.
they would even ask you anything else. Do you have allergies? It
Hmm.
was it was a conscious effort to make sure you would be okay.
And actually, now when I fill out my events, when I'm registering for a conference, it says, do you have special food needs or any special? And I always say, yes, I want better drinks with no alcohol because we're ingesting this alcohol as a food. I mean, it's going in our body, right? And so if we can start to say, we want better options, meeting planners, event planners, conference planners will start to pay attention.
Sure. So when the server comes to the table and besides asking if you want red wine or white wine, there could
Mhm.
be two more options for the non-drinker. So it's an inclusive choice,
Exactly.
not a sep.
And I do think that restaurants are starting, depending on where you live in the country, they're starting to, like, I love when I walk in and I flip over the menu and there's mocktails or there's NA
Mm-hmm.
options. Like they're really starting to recognize this. And it's not even for the people who are in recovery or who don't drink or drank and stop drinking. I mean, the younger generation's not drinking the way we do
It's
or
true.
are, right? And so better options are just what society is wanting. We just need all of the different areas to catch up.
And a lot of it is too is people just want to be healthy. They're
Mhm.
thinking about what they're putting in their body, and it may not that they have to choose a sober life, or that was like
Right.
what their next step was. It's just, I just want to have a healthy body,
Yep.
and that should be celebrated too. So yeah, there's probably a big pivot here.
Yeah, it's definitely a movement, but it takes more and more of us to talk about it. Which I appreciate you being on your podcast to talk about it because there are people who are listening to your podcast who are probably like me who were, I mean, I didn't think you could do life without alcohol. That's why I laughed when you did the intro because if you would have told me 10 years ago that I would be sober, I'd say you're crazy because I didn't think I could have fun and be sober. I didn't think I could,
Mm-mm.
the word sober was, I don't even think I ever said sober, right? And so to be on the other side of it, it's quite ironic, but I've discovered and learned so many amazing things about myself, things I never even knew, things I lost because I started drinking and, high school and college that I didn't even know. And life is so much better on the other end. But if we don't talk about it, people who are in the dark space, wherever they are, won't know that there's somebody on the other side saying it's okay over here. It's not bad.
Yeah, like you're shedding light on it, and people are coming out of that darkness into that light and go, "This is good." And then other people could see it and say, "Gosh, I should think about that and
And
consider it." So
it's really
sharing what
your own
you,
relationship with
yeah,
alcohol. I mean, it's an independent thing.
it
Sorry.
is independent. Oh, no, no, no. I'm glad you said that. So just, based on what you just said, learning more about yourself, what has sobriety taught you about just being present, about joy, about connection?
It's funny when you first stop drinking, I mean, because we have to put this in reality, it is an addictive substance. Like alcohol is an addictive substance. Its job is to get you addicted to it, right? So when you first stop drinking, no matter where it is, you're going to feel or even when you take a break, a 30-day, the first week, you actually feel God, a glass of wine would be good, a nice now, or whatever, right? The symptoms are whatever you're feeling, the urges. But after that, you really start to learn how to do life without alcohol. And one of the things that I learned is I didn't know how to do life without alcohol. I went to my first concert sober and I'm like, what do I do? How do I went
Yeah.
dancing and I was like, I haven't danced since I was in high school because I always had a really overpriced drink in my hand. I didn't want to set down or worry about, right? So you learn how to deal with grief without alcohol. But you learn so much more about yourself. And you realize that you are stronger and and there's stuff to work on, right? But you can't
Sure.
numb it anymore. You don't just bury your sorrow in a bottle of wine. You actually work on yourself. And so I did happiness coaching and different things to really kind of figure out who I was because again, I started drinking in high school, college. And
Mhm.
it's been part of the journey. And it's like, okay, well, how do I do life now without it? So you learn a lot
Right.
about
Who
yourself.
am I now? Because
Mhm.
yeah, it actually covers you up or doesn't even allow you to be yourself. And
Exactly.
so I have this quote, and it kind of goes with what you just said. It said, I chose sober because I wanted a better life. I stay sober because I got one.
It's so great. It's so true. Yeah. And then a few years into being sober, however, I I was happy about being sober, but then I realized that I was operating from the neck up. I'm very much entrepreneur, get things done, check a box, do the things. And what I realized after a few years of being sober, and I was kind of over that, like I did this because that's one of the things I'm most proud of is stopping drinking because I think it's a hard thing to do and it's against societal norm and I'm very proud of it. But then
Yes, you,
I realized I wasn't happy. Like I wasn't truly
okay.
happy in my heart, right? And
Right,
that
right.
but I have now this ability to learn more about me and to have time and energy and to do the things. Like I am a professional sleeper. Like I love to sleep. That's just my reboot for my body. But I
Yeah.
used to sleep off my drinking. Well, now I don't have to worry about it. When I go to sleep, I'm giving my body the break it needs and my brain and all the things. So you just start to learn more about yourself to to help yourself be happier from the inside and not be so tied to this addictive substance.
You know, you're reminding me of a friend of mine, and she always says, I broke up with alcohol.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
she said, I was so dependent upon it when I went into meetings so I could feel confident when I spoke. And then she started getting into cold plunging, and she's just so healthy. And now she's using that to help others
Yep.
just get. And so you're doing the same thing. And so you hold conferences. You're going to have a conference in January.
Yeah. So
What will people like? What happens at the conference, and what will they walk away with?
yeah, so we're not here to get people sober. That's a personal choice. But one thing we have found is there are a lot of people who are in the sober space, sober coaches, sober speakers, maybe just newly sober, sober curious, who want to share their story, want to influence their community, want to learn how to talk about it to others. And there's not a real place to go to do that. And so my business partner and I, she runs our podcast, and I wrote the book. We've been on had a lot of conversations with these people who would love to go to the next level of whatever that is for them. So we are hosting the first ever sober influencers. I don't know, I don't like that word, but creatives conference
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
January to help people amplify their sober voices. So to be able, because there were people who came out, when I say came out, started talking about it years ago, but there wasn't as many as there are now. And there are more and more people paying attention to the sober movement. And at our conference, we want to help people if you want to start a podcast or grow your podcast, if you want to start, have a bigger influence online, if you want to be a speaker, if you want to write articles or write a book. And so, how can you take your message, figure out what your message is, and then amplify it to the world? Because we think if more people are confident in their discussion, they're writing, they're speaking on their sober choices, somebody's going to hear their story and it's going to resonate with them. And so Amplify is in January. It's a 1 day conference and it's Amplify Sober Voices, just for anybody in the sober space.
So if they want to attend, do they just go to a website to find the information?
Yeah, so it's Amplify Sober Voices or Sober Life Rocks. So the name of it's Amplify Sober Voices, and we are Sober Life Rocks. And we are part of a 1 day seminar within PodFest. So PodFest is a 3 day conference, all for podcasters and people who are in the podcasting space. Our conference is within their conference, so it's 1 day. And then if you buy tickets to our conference, you can go to the whole event. So
Oh, that's
um,
nice.
it's kind of a win-win for anybody who's in that space. Yep. So Amplify Sober Voices. And it's in Orlando in January. So not a bad place to be.
You won't be suffering.
Yeah, right.
So then what's one surprising thing that people who come to your conferences, like what's one surprising thing that you think they're going to learn when they attend?
I think that they're going to learn more about, even in the sober side of things, that you're not alone. So when you do start to talk about your sober choices or interest in being sober or so whatever, when you talk about this is a in normal society, it's going against the norm, right? It's the first one
Hmm.
to say, I'm not drinking today, and people are like, what? Right? So
Yeah.
we can feel very alone in that, right? So
Yes.
to come to a space where you can find that you're not alone. Like we have challenges. I still have challenges of people saying, "What do you mean you don't drink?" And so to come to a space where other people understand, and I think there's going to be, I'm excited about that. A lot of people who are going to be there, we're going to see people who spoke before us and made a difference in our life. Like I know there'll be people there that I followed when I was still drinking. And I was like, gosh, they're teaching me things. If I could just do that, I could stop drinking or I could have control over alcohol. So I just think the connection of being connected to those who came before us and helped us, and then those who are going to come behind us, and how do we get more confident in our messages so that those people don't have to struggle as long as others potentially did before them.
Cool. Well, let me ask you this based on what you just shared. Educate us. How
Mhm.
can we, those who may have a glass of wine and they encounter someone who says, I'm not drinking, instead of us saying, why? Like, or come across wrong, what would you prefer to hear from us?
Just so the cute thing is, one of the stories I have is I have a friend who follows me on TikTok, and I would talk about my sobriety journey on TikTok. And then he came up to me at an event and he offered me and a friend of mine something to drink because we had just gotten the event. He's like, "Can I get you guys something to drink?" And then he looked at me and he goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry." And so I went to my room and did a TikTok because I was like, I still drink. Like, I would love to have a soda. Like, so
Yeah.
so the thing is just not to make a big deal out of it. Oh, you don't want a glass of wine? Great. What can I get you? Like, it shouldn't matter, right? You don't get questioned, and I think the comedian of like, you don't get questioned why you don't eat mayonnaise, right? We don't get questioned why you're not doing cocaine drugs. Like, why do we care if somebody's drinking or not? So I think initially just the reaction of, oh, okay, what can I get you? Right? What can I offer you? And not even questioning, not even making a big deal out of it. And just they will drink something potentially. They just don't want a glass of wine, right? And that's okay. Just making it not a big deal because it can be awkward, especially for somebody who's trying sober life, people who are newly in recovery. The hard part is that what do you want when the waiter walks up and now I'm the first to order and it's awkward. So the more you can make it just not awkward for them in that conversation, the better it's going to be. And then later in a real, when you really mean it, if you're interested, like, huh, you're not drinking. Tell me more about that, right? But not in that the initial awkward time of the conversation.
Right, because I guess for me, I was saying, "Oh, that's a great decision. Can you tell me how you got there?"
Right.
Like I would want to
I love,
know.
yep, I love that, but also I would say maybe not initially.
Initial, right,
Yeah.
right.
It's
Maybe.
just that initial nervousness or
Mm-hmm.
awkwardness that once we get past the ordering and everybody has a drink in their hands and we're all good, then I think that's a great conversation because you're really trying to be curious and learn. And if you really are just trying to be curious, that's great, you know?
Yeah, because I think for me, if I can get someone to share their story, I'm actually going to bond with that person.
Right.
And then that person will feel comfortable around me because I'm not judging. I'm just generally would love to know why so I can support you
Yep,
in your
exactly.
great decision.
Yep,
That's how I
exactly.
would look at it.
We actually call you, my business partner and I coined this, you're a sober wingman.
Ah,
So you're somebody who drinks, and that's great because drinking is fine. It's just not for everybody. And it should be
right.
support those who don't drink. You actually care. And if you and I were at an event together and I started to feel somebody was pressuring, I know you would step in and just be like, you know what? It's cool. She doesn't want to drink. I'll get you something. And you, or let's go for a walk. Like you support this lifestyle. You're a sober wingman. It doesn't mean you have to stop drinking. It just means you respect and honor and support those that don't want to. And that's great,
I
right?
like that title. Thank you.
Yeah. There you go. You're our sober wingman. And actually those are more important than everybody else because it's that bridge between just let people be people. Just let
Yeah,
you don't care what's in your cup and don't care what's in mine, right?
that's right. Because there's more important things to talk about.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to take it. We went from corporate. I'm going to take it to the home setting.
Okay.
Where you have a party at your house or you're having people over for dinner, what are some of the more thoughtful ways a host can make a non-drinker feel more welcome and included?
I think that's great. So the first is how the invitation is made. So to make sure, because a lot of people are like, come over and have drinks, or we're gonna have beer and wine. It's written on the text or whatever. So really being conscious about adding in there mocktails, non-alcoholic options, or whatever, so that they know they're safe. If you have an opportunity to have a personal discussion with them, what else can I get that you would like to drink? Like, I love when people ask me that because I'm like, I actually like Topo Chico, and I find Topo Chico to be kind of expensive, so I don't have it in my house a lot. But if you want to have Topo Chico, I think that would be amazing because I'll be excited about it, right? So just, making sure that that drink thing is clear. And then the next thing I would
Hmm.
say is how you set up the actual event to have the drinks be in a way like for example I saw somebody on social media that they had like it was like a make your own margarita bar. And so it was like, they had limes and lemons and oranges and stuff, but the alcohol was over here in a different area. So you could make the drink. And then if you wanted to put alcohol in it, you could walk over there and put alcohol in it. And I'm sure a lot of people did, but the people who weren't drinking felt like they were still part of the party.
Oh, that's
If
clever.
you are offering things, one thing I always say is offer.
I think you went mute. Are you still there? I can't.
Oh,
All of a sudden, you stopped talking.
oh, am I moving now?
No, you're fine. But
No.
we talked about the margarita.
Okay.
And
I
then
can get
after that, you went into
having drinks that are similar. I can go back to that part.
okay, so let me bring you back in. So how can I
Okay.
bring you back in? Okay. So that's I love that about the margarita bar because then people have options and they feel included. And what are some other ideas?
So the other thing is to have drinks that are similar to those that you have with alcohol. So for example, if you're offering beer and wine to as your main drinks that you're having, don't have the non-alcoholic drink be an orange juice, sticky sweet lemonade thing in the corner with a spout and kids' cups. Like, give me non-alcoholic beer options. Give me alcohol-free wine options. Like, give me the same glass that other people have or similar glasses so that I feel like I'm part of it and I'm not separate. So, really being intentional. And there's so many great options now. There's so many options where, you can offer mixed drinks and then have a non-alcoholic version of the same thing, right? So, really just being intentional because, like I said, they're adults. They want adult drinks. They just want theirs without alcohol in it.
So in other words, yeah, I love all those suggestions because you don't want to have like a wow, wow, like a light shining on the person who's not drinking because they have something so different.
Yep.
But that's great advice. I like that.
I was actually at an event and they had a bartender and she was making lemon drops. And everyone was sitting around the bar and I didn't go up and have a lemon drop because I was like, well, I think that's straight alcohol, And so I was doing other stuff. She came over, she said, "Do you want a lemon drop?" And I was like, "Well, no, thanks. I don't drink." She goes, "I can make a non-alcoholic version." And I was like, "Yeah, I would love one." And then here's the thing she did. She put lemon slices on all of their glasses on the edge of the glass. She put an orange slice on mine. Now, I love that because as we were talking and I was moving around, I was holding the same glass they were holding. I felt like I was like a big kid with the kids. But when I set my drink down, I knew that one with the orange slice was mine and the lemon slices were there. So I didn't accidentally pick up the wrong glass or mix it. So that was like so
Oh,
classy
yeah.
because I was part of it, but I also felt safe because she made the drink in front of me. She put an orange slice in mine. I knew that was my glass, but nobody else knew what that was. And so it's things like that. You can be very intentional to make everybody feel included. You just got to have a little forethought.
Yeah, I mean, that was so thoughtful on her part. And then she actually came to you,
Right.
sought you
Exactly.
out. I
Yeah,
hope you gave
exactly.
her a good tip.
Yes, exactly. Actually, we spotlighted her all over social media too. I think I got her a few bartending gigs after that because it was
Oh,
so
awesome.
classy. Yeah. And again, that's where if you go to a bar, it's a little bit easier because if they're a good bartender, they can make mocktails and cocktails the same. They can make
Mm-hmm.
drinks. It's when you have them people in your home or at an event where it's just open a bottle and hand it to somebody that, you do have to have some intentional thought about having stuff that you can offer besides Coke and Sprite, because that's most of the time what it's like. We have beer, wine, Coke, and Sprite, right? Or Pepsi and whatever, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
there's better options than that.
So, as a hostess in our homes, we should always be prepared whether or not we know someone is coming that doesn't drink. So we
Uh-huh.
can have a non-alcoholic champagne or non-alcoholic beer or something.
Yep. And if you aren't one, I mean, I'm not saying you have to stock up with a lot of NA stuff, but there are some really good seltzer waters now. There's some, because not
Mm-hmm.
everybody wants a Coke or a Sprite.
Right,
They don't want the
right.
sugar, especially if they're healthier. So, just a good Pellegrino, right? Just a
That's
good
true.
something that is an adult-like drink that I don't feel like a kid while other people are drinking wine or champagne or whatever. And then don't give it to me in like a kid's cup. Give it to me in a glass and throw a lime on the top or some little, basil or whatever you want to do to make it look good.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. So, what
Mhm.
else is in your book? Is your book strictly for the event planner? And
It
do
again,
you,
it's
you
for anyone, 5 to 5,000 people, really, for
okay.
that.
Have you found any resistance from event planners?
No, event planners have been 100% on board. Where we're finding
Great.
resistance is above them at the hotels and the conference centers, the ones that are more corporate, because the event planners are going to the conference, whoever now, the food and beverage department, and they're like, we need better options for our attendees. And then the hotels are saying, okay, great, we'll get you better options. And then the meeting planners are assuming it's going to be fine. They have enough stuff to do. They have enough to get the meeting going that they're like, okay, check the box. We've got alcohol-free options. But what happens is when it hits food and beverage or catering or anything in the hotel space is that big alcohol, there's contracts with these spaces.
Oh,
So
that's true.
they have contracts they have to follow. They have, so there's amount they have to sell or they have to have in stock. And when they do buy alcohol-free stuff, if we don't know about it, we don't order it, it gets expired, it goes bad, and then they say people aren't drinking the alcohol-free stuff. So we're kind of above the meeting planners now at this point, where meeting planners are seeing
Hmm.
it, but now we've got to break into the hotels and conference centers to have better options higher in the corporate world to have it filtered down to the roll-up black bars when we go to these events at nighttime.
Sure. I feel like it's like a total reset has to happen. I think about my son found out when he was probably 28, he was gluten free. You know, you go out to eat, there's no options.
Mhm.
He was so limited, but now the gluten-free options are everywhere.
Yep.
And so I see that in what you're doing, that there's going to be a reset, but it always has to start at the top. And that education of this is what's going on, this is what we need. And because it's all about perspective, They're
Yep.
only seeing one side of the story. So what I see that you're doing, Laura, is you're offering the other perspective and for them to consider.
Yep. And at the end of the day, it's about money, right? So
True.
businesses want to make money. If you look now, a lot of the larger alcohol companies are bringing on alcohol-free brands. They're bringing on NA brands. They're making their own efforts. So, and they're not combined, but at least they're making an effort towards that direction. And so now we just need to get those things into the corporate settings, to the conference centers, to the event spaces, then to get down and into the bars. But it'll happen. I know it'll happen. It's just a matter of when and how much we have to kick and scream to get there. And
Right.
podcasts and articles and books and magazines. And part of the reason for our conference now is if we can get more people united in this sober space so that, because there are people all over the country trying to do what we're doing in all different spaces. Imagine if we come together under one roof and get to know each other and collaborate and connect. Like it's going to get even bigger when we get everybody in the room. And that's really the goal behind the conference that we're doing.
Well, and I think of your little tag there, living life loud.
Hmm.
It's your voice. The voice needs to get louder, and that comes from everyone being united. You're working together, right? And so that would ultimately splash onto the community. So I know we've talked about corporate, personal home events. What's the community's role at
Yeah.
large?
Yeah. Again, I think it's anytime you put one person alone is already suffering when they're making their decisions around alcohol or not. It's a
Mhm.
personal thing. That's why, like we're already in our head trying to decide, did I drink too much last night? Do I drink too much? Should I drink at this event tonight? I don't feel like drinking. Like this is all going on in our head before we even connect to that next person. And then we connect to the next person, and that becomes a community. And really, recognizing that as society is at large, we put alcohol up on a higher pedestal than it really should be. And so the more we can just put it really where it should be, it's not prohibition. We're not trying to get rid of it. It's not going away, but it just needs to be a sideline part of everything we're doing. So in any community event, anytime you have more than two or three people together, to be able to recognize that it can be part of it, but it isn't the focal point, right? I think we've come through a really hard time with the pandemic and everybody being, we have no loneliness as an issue. And
Right.
what we really need is connection. And
Hmm.
alcohol doesn't really give us connection. Alcohol, if anything, the first 20 minutes of your first drink of something is great. There's your high, and then everything after that is lost. And so the alcohol might get you the little courage you need to start that connection, but then it's downhill from there. So really learning how to connect, having events in the communities that you're in around the connection part of it. Like I said, alcohol can be part of it, but just realize like not everybody wants that. And more people will raise their hands saying, "Thank goodness that we have better options because we just haven't done it. This is just the way we've always done it, right? This is just the
Right.
norm." And it'll change. I mean, look at smoking, right? Like
Hmm.
smoking used to be in movies and on billboards and
Oh,
all.
and the restaurants and
Yep, yep.
so
And
it
it's
just takes time. It takes time. It takes time for your voice to get louder and more awareness. I think of if we can be educated and thoughtful conversations that we can have and not make like you don't want the alcohol to be the focus, but you also don't want to be the non-drinker
right.
a focus. It's just like we're all human. We're all in a space. Let's concentrate on why we're here, not what's
Yep.
in our hands. And so with that thought in mind, so we've gone corporate to homes to community. Now, someone who would have a loved one, how do we support someone who's living a sober lifestyle that we love? How do we support them?
So, um, shame, guilt is not, I mean, that is the worst thing to help anybody who's going through something, right? And this is more, I'm thinking more of when somebody's trying to decide their relationship with alcohol and get out of their relationship with alcohol. So many times we don't even realize how we say things that are, here's an example. I have a really good friend who runs a conference who, as I started to do this work, she's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that all we have is alcohol at these events. And I literally want everyone to feel included. We need better options, which we have. And we're having this
Mhm.
discussion. I find out after the fact that her daughter is 10 years in recovery. And she's never even had this
Oh,
discussion with her daughter because it's within the four walls of their home. It's just, it is what it is. And her daughters just had to learn how to adapt with the family for whatever reason. And I think that because there was some shame maybe in the family for my daughter went to rehab or my daughter's in recovery or whatever, that's going to get us nowhere for connection, right? So realizing that it's not the person is already dealing with enough. Why can I not have this drink? Or why when I have this drink, this happens to me? Or why do I regret having a drink? The thing is alcohol isn't it, we used to think it was you are an alcoholic or you're not. It's the person, right? It's alcoholism or it's not. We
mhm.
now know it's alcohol use disorder. It's a spectrum. And anybody who's drank for the wrong reason, woke up, regretted drinking, you're on the spectrum, right? You're not this far along the spectrum, but we're all there. And anybody who drinks alcohol long enough eventually would get addicted. Like it's an addictive substance. So if we can just get rid of the shame, get rid of the guilt, get rid of the blame, get rid of it, and just love on people in our world and know that their challenges are their challenges. And it might not be your challenge, but you have another challenge. We all do. And if you don't have a challenge, it's coming. Right?
Yeah,
Like, and just let people have their space and
yeah,
really just lean in and love on them for what they're going through, you know?
sure. Actually, like you just need to respect the choice, celebrate the choice, make it easier for them, and it. I think that's a strong choice. It's
Yep.
wonderful. It's healthy, and I think a lot of people are moving in that direction. So here you are steering this movement. I think it's fabulous. So I want you to think right now for someone who's possibly listening and they're sober curious, but they're hesitant. So, what encouragement would you give them? And if there's any final thoughts that you have about what we're talking about today, please share.
I love that. And that is kind of when you do have somebody in your home that you are loving, supporting, celebrating. If you're not feeling that way, because you're missing your wine buddy or the person you used to sit around and have a drink with, or you are curious now. You're like, how could they not drink? And why are they not drinking? Curiosity is the first step honestly. Like just getting curious about why are you feeling these emotions? Why do you feel the way you do? And so many people try to just stop drinking. Like I have a problem or I'm going to take a 30-day break, which I'm fine with 30-day breaks. I think that's awesome. But the idea behind the break is not to prove to yourself you're not an alcoholic. The idea of the break is to start to think about well, how do I go to a concert sober? How do I not have a drink at this dinner event? How do I go to a wine tasting and not taste the wine? Like how to do life,
Mhm.
right? So being curious, sober curious, we have that word for a reason, I think, because you can't fix what you're not aware of. You can't change what you're not aware of. So becoming aware of your relationship with alcohol and then making the decision that's best for you. And for me, it's one of the things where I don't think I can't drink. Like I've done the work where I actually think I choose not to drink. I could have a drink if I wanted, but my subconscious would be like, well, the more I want it, the more it's gonna be awful versus no, I drank and I had fun and I'm done and I move on and I choose something else now, right? I choose a better life for me. So, really just kind of being curious and not shameful and not guilt-ridden and not, like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a problem. You actually start to realize maybe there's something better for you. Maybe there's a different way.
So find the courage and take the leap and make the choice and just do it. Take that next step forward.
Yeah. And community is huge. So I
Mhm.
think talking to somebody else, like listening to this podcast is great, connecting with a community. I mean, there are many times with whatever we're dealing with, we think we're the only ones. And I 100% guarantee somebody else has dealt with whatever you're dealing with. So find a community, find people that you trust that you can talk to. You're not alone. In this space, I think sobriety is getting more and more. I bet if you start talking to people, you will find other people who feel the same way that you do. And really surround yourself with people who do that align with you.
Yeah, that's when you find the courage. So, my final question, I would just love to know what is the legacy that you hope to leave through this journey and all that you're doing?
I hope that one day we can show up, people can show, my daughter, my grandkids can show up to conferences and nobody even second guesses what's
Mm.
in their cup, right? I don't know. I always think about that with the vegan and vegetarian movement and how it's so great now in all the food things. I don't know. People probably might know, some people, but I don't know who those people were that pushed the envelope, who challenged the meeting planners, who made sure that the right food can get, but somebody did it. And therefore now my friends who are vegan and vegetarian can get served with this with everybody else. So I don't expect my name or our name, Sober Life Rocks, to be associated with it necessarily, but if we all move in that direction, I think we can have a better life for our next generation, and maybe we don't deal with the addiction, at least the addiction around alcohol, the way that, so many people have had to deal with so far. There'll be other issues, who knows, in society down the road, but my impact, I hope, is in this area.
Oh, I can see that. I can see it coming. And what a great legacy because it always takes the current generation to be the movers, the changers, so the next generation can benefit from that. And I just love your vision and your dream, and I just believe it's going to be fulfilled. I can just see it happening with more awareness that you are bringing to spaces that nobody ever thought about. So I just want to say congratulations and blessings on what you are doing because it's huge. And I just wish you the most success.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, I've loved having you on here. This has been a powerful conversation, and I celebrate the choice that you made. Keep living out loud.
Mhm. I will do my best. I don't know how to do it any other way.
I love it. I love it. And I want to thank my transition tribe for coming in each and every week. And again, you can hear from this story there is purpose and power in every transition in life. If you choose to embrace it, you will experience growth. You will experience transformation. And you could be the very one that brings to this world something that needs to be done. So if you're thinking about something that seems so drastic, you might be the one who has been chosen to step into that space. So let transition take you there because it's when you get on the other side of that transition bridge, the revelations come, the people you need to meet to accomplish that next calling in your life, that new purpose, they're going to be there to surround you and get this done. So, in the meantime, keep taking steps forward, and I'll see you next time on the Transition Bridge podcast.